Hello, and welcome to As Built, the podcast from Graphic Machine about architecture firms, buildings, and how both get built. I'm your co-host, Patience Jones. With me is
Brian Jones.
Thank you for joining us. In today's episode, we are talking about setting up advisors for your firm, which sounds a little daunting.
Yeah, sounds big.
It sounds very big. Doesn't the impact of this to your firm will be very big and positive, important. But the act of creating these relationships doesn't have to be. So, what do we mean by advisors?
I think the definition I would use would be a person in a particular field that has that expertise that can provide you an honest view of how your firm is interacting with that piece of knowledge. Maybe that's too obtuse, but
I'm breaking this down in my head right now, piece by piece. Yes, and the advisors are all, in an ideal world, the advisors all have their own areas of expertise.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's banking and finance, perhaps that's law, perhaps that's construction, perhaps it's urban planning. And these advisors are, their sole job, as far as your firm is concerned, is to give you the unvarnished truth about what they see in their industries, what's going on, and how they see your firm doing, and what they think of the decisions that you are making and plan to make. So there's supposed to be a sounding board. And the point of this sounding board is that if you ask your employees, should I do this thing or should I not? You write those people a check every 2 weeks. So what do you think they're going to say? What do you want to do? That's a good idea.
yeah, and they may or may not have the expertise to understand what might be valuable as far as feedback.
Also true. If you ask your spouse, well, your spouse or partner has a interest, whether that's financial, emotional, all kinds of ties to the outcome of your decision that are separate from what might be best for the business. Same thing is true of your friends, and your friends may just want to see more of you. Your friends may not have any experience in what you're trying to wrangle with. So you need people who prioritize at your request the best interest of the firm, who have no other ties or obligations. Their lives go on the same no matter what you decide to do. Their job is just to be very direct and frank with you and to be a resource so that you feel comfortable asking them any kind of question. And among these advisors should be some sort of business coach, growth coach. There are really good ones out there, and there are ones that are not so good. And you'll learn pretty quickly which are which just from how you interact with them. We are lucky enough to have worked with someone for several years now he's just invaluable to the business. And many times I think I've come up with what the right solution is. And I will say to him, okay, here's what the problem, here's what I'm thinking, what am I missing? And that part is just so, I can't overstate the importance of that, because any business leader is going to miss things because you're focused on your business and you're focused on certain things and you've got a million things coming at you all the time. When he is able to say, well, what about this thing? That has helped enormously.
I mean, I think that candor is so critical. And I think that that would be the thing that I would look for in those relationships, is the ability to feel like you can be honest about what's really happening. I think if you feel like you're in these situations and you're putting on a glossy presentation of what's happening, then you haven't found the right advisors, because it should be that honest, candid talk about what's happening and how to solve problems, or what feedback on a decision that you're thinking about. And I think that that's when you found the right people.
And the more that you work with these people, the more they will come to know you, if they don't already, really, really well. And so, one of the people that I consider an advisor is a friend who's a partner in a law firm. And when I talk to him about things that I'm struggling with or wrestling with, he takes into account what he knows about me and how I am as a person and how I make decisions and, what keeps me up at night and what doesn't. And we have a relationship where he will say, okay, I hear that, but you tend to look at things this way. Is this what's happening here?
Yep.
Or, I know that this is something that freaks you out. You know, if we took that away, what kind of decision would you make? Those kinds of conversations are not the kind of conversations that you're going to feel comfortable having with just anybody. These relationships take time, but they're so, so important.
And kind of the underlying thing that we've talked about but haven't mentioned by name here in picking these advisors, and the reason why having them external to the firm, is that they have to be separate and apart from the day-to-day internal politics of what's happening inside the firm, and to be able to provide an honest assessment and reflection of what's happening. Because I think that sometimes you think, well, I'll just stay inside the firm because I want to keep this all inside the firm. And that there are times where that's okay, but when you find yourself up against a wall, as it were, it may be time to really use these relationships and to have cultivated these relationships so that they're there.
And they're great, like, being able to turn to your advisors, that's not something that you have to wait until there's, you know, heaven forbid, a catastrophic event. It
Yeah.
at the same time, you need to be able to make decisions by yourself, but can't be like, "Should I use this stamp or that stamp on this letter?" But reaching out to them just over email to say, you know, "Hey, here's what I'm thinking about," or "Have you ever heard of somebody doing XYZ?" or "Do you know of any good resources?" Um, you know, or "We need a new software platform for this. Do you have any recommendations? What have you used? What have you heard?" All of those things are so helpful.
Yeah. And
And
sorry, that the this helps. We talked about this on our previous episode about being a lone wolf, and this is the surest way to get out of that lone wolfness.
mm,
And the more that you open these conversations up, and I think what you talked about right then was exactly right. Start having things about small, not insignificant, but not, at the top end of the scale of issues that your firm may be facing, because building up that trust and that relationship does take time, and start and do that semi frequently.
yeah, I mean, it as the as the resident lone wolf, I will say that being able to have an intentionally small group of people to turn to say, okay, what am I missing, or what are my options, or can I just run this by you?" Helped me see that, yes, this was actually a viable and credible way to run a business, but also helped me to see how many things I was grappling with myself for a really long time. And when you start to think, "Oh, I can ask somebody for input on that." And then you realize, "Oh, that's like 10 things this week." You're still making all of the routine, smaller, quotidian decisions, but it sort of draws a circle around. You've been carrying an awful lot yourself that you didn't have to, and you'll get a better result if you're not.
It can also help that feeling that often happens at the top of the firm leadership, which is a feeling of isolation,
Yeah,
where no one uh, understands your day to day and understands the pressures that you might be under. And I think having this network can be an essential asset, a mandatory asset, some might say, to your own effectiveness and your own joy, frankly.
that's a really good point. It's not, I think, too often in many industries, we look at suffering and unhappiness as some sort of badge of honor and success. And the more stretched thin we are and about to crumble, then boy, we must really be successful. And we'll success ourselves right into an early grave. So this is important. And you can, pay it forward by being this kind of advisor for somebody else. I don't think it works. And I know that this is a model that groups use. I have never found it persuasive or successful, but there is a model where like 8 or 10 people get together and they all give each other feedback and they all, talk about things. And what I've found is that it could just be the groups that I've been exposed to, but I've found that it tends to be too much yesing and it's and a lot of like group kvetching. It doesn't I think the most successful model, as far as I've seen, is where you're the firm, you have your advisors, their focus is on you. They have other advisors. You're not their advisor.
Yep.
And you're not trying to get business from them. You're not pitching them, you're not selling them, because if that's your mindset, you're never going to be honest with them about the challenges that you're facing. You have to be able to put everything on the table and say, this isn't working, or I think we want to do this, and not worry, oh, are they not going to hire us, for this job? You shouldn't be talking to anybody who could potentially hire you for a job.
That's the whole point of this.
Yeah. So I'm going to turn the tables. Takeaways.
No,
I know. Doesn't feel good, does
it
it?
does not.
I know, it's terrible.
So I think the big takeaways here are making sure that you see this as a essential part of leadership. Is having a group of people that you can turn to ask questions and to use as a sounding board, to use the phrase that you used earlier. I think that if you go into leadership feeling like you have to carry the whole load by yourself, it can get overwhelming really quickly.
Yeah. And you only know so much. As much as you know, there's still a limit on that.
And it will feel better and happier by bringing those people into the fold.
Absolutely.
It doesn't always mean that things will be easy.
Yeah, it does not. And if it does, be wary of that.
Yeah.
And any good advisor will have occasion to tell you, I can't make that decision for you, or I don't have anything to add to that, or both of those things are equally correct. You have to make a decision. Having advisors does not absolve you of having to make difficult decisions in your firm or have bad times in your business. It's not a magical guarantee that
things will work out.
No, and it shouldn't be.
It's to prevent blind spots and to prevent just a myopia from setting in that you can't see your way through to the other side.
And to benefit from other people's hard-won experience and knowledge.
Absolutely.
So thank you for letting us share our hard-won experience and knowledge with you. We will see you next time.